on the cloud. So that way we have it. So I'm starting recording now. If it's uncomfortable for you, you can always take your video off so that you're not on. We did ask too that because this was informal sharing and we wanted to keep it just personal among friends, that we limit the sharing of the content just to the golden artist educators and working artists that are in that group, because it's just informal, friendly sharing, and people are participating with that context in mind. So just considering that whenever we are having the content put out there. Also, something is that everybody's just contributing their past experience. So, you know, it's like I think people are in different places and sharing what works for them. And so, you know, there's no hard and fast rules, but we're just saying what's out there and whatnot. So we appreciate that. And I think that's it for as far as the housekeeping goes. I did create like a little bit of an outline based on what people were asking and trying to come up with a way to structure this that's a little bit more formal for people. And some of the general questions that I had to ask myself when I was thinking about merging platforms was initially like, what platforms am I even talking about? And some things that came to mind for me were like, you know, Facebook, Instagram, my website, the e-commerce, you know, different things that I was using and how to really consolidate the steps and how to maximize my effort so that I could put, you know, things in one general place and then have them shift around. And I think the biggest question that I'd have to ask and maybe consider everybody to ask internally is, where are you personally? And that's the question I asked for myself. And for me, my teaching right now is the biggest priority. It's the thing that was already generating income without these dynamics changing. And so I had to put full attention on stabilizing that and finding ways to expand on that. And that's not to say that my artwork and the other things aren't important, but I needed to stabilize what was already working so that I could move forward. And based on that decision about myself, that's really tailored the steps that I'm trying to pursue. So when I say what I'm doing for me, it's based around that decision making so that I can maximize the time and then build on to other things as I need it. So I think if people knew that in mind, then they'd be able to make the best decisions on whatever means they would need and take what they need and leave the rest. I checked statistics and analytics for the things that I already had going. My website has analytics, so it shows me where I get the biggest flux of things from, and that helps me tailor my energy, what things came from Instagram, what things came from, you know, outside sources, what things come from the website host itself. And for me, Facebook by far was the biggest generation of the hits and things that came up. And then also analytics like things on Instagram versus Facebook versus the website. So on Facebook, I have one age demographic and one gender demographic, but on Instagram, it's slightly tailored. It's different. So it's about 10 years younger on Instagram, and it's also got a bigger proportion of males. So those are just general examples of collecting analytics and statistics to even find out, you know, where to start putting my efforts on platforms. And then, like I said, identifying whether you're going to be selling, teaching, or building an audience, whatever your primary goal is, and trying to move forward with that as far as moving on. So that's just as far as looking at platforms and when and how to link them. But I'll pause here to see what other shared experience, like are there other platforms that we are maybe should be mentioned that aren't being considered, or any other insight that people have on when and why they're choosing platforms and the need for consolidation?
For myself, if I can share a little bit of my experience. So I've sort of, in the last 5 years or so, I have sort of a 50-50 split of my income coming from workshops as well as art sales. So I have made it a priority to also really get an online shop moving forward and set up. So I've had that for about 2 years. And I've been using Shopify, and I've been recommending that to a lot of artists because I do find that e-commerce option is such a good option right now. And even, you know, for your sake, for yourself, Mika, you know, doing demos, if you're doing live demos, or if you're doing any sort of demonstration paintings, having an outlet for your a page for you to sell those off as well, because again, your demos can often be a great little money maker in the middle of people buying an original piece versus buying a demo, which can be a little bit cheaper. But I found that has been sort of my saving grace right now, because classes are a little bit harder to work on, and obviously you can't do the same kind of volume that you used to. So I've been definitely using Shopify as sort of my go-to. So that's another great platform if you have an option.
I am actually going to sign on with Rizuko, who is much like Teachable. And I'm going to do it because I'm hoping that a lot of my list building and live Facebook, both of which are a problem, will go away.
What's the name of Rizuku? Is that the one you were talking about?
Yes, Rizuku, Ruzuku. I did a lot of research on the groups a couple years ago, and that one seemed to be the best for what I wanted, as far as not taking a percentage. You take the money directly from the students. Having a group, like kind of like a Facebook group that works right within their system. So people who aren't on Facebook don't have issues with it, and places for students to post their work. My biggest problem, because I've had these big classes, is keeping track of people and building the list and sending the list out through MailChimp, and trying to sort of drip the list out there, but it, involves and double checking list with Square, where I take the money. I think a lot of that will be automated by signing up with a service like Rizuko or Teachable.
Jacqueline, can I ask, wasn't it a little bit more of an expensive option, but it's better for bigger classes once you have a bigger audience? So a lot of this may not be quite there yet, especially if our goal is a smaller.
It is expensive, but I had written to him about a year ago, because it's like $99 a month. And I said, well, I'm not going to do classes every month. And they said, well, you just come in and you do your class and only pay for the months when you're doing classes, but your classes will stay up there, so students can still have access to it. They don't ever take your information down, but you don't have to pay for the whole year if you're only going to run 2 classes during the year.
So it might make more sense as a one-off for some people, or even just to try it out.
Yeah, they'll give you a 15-day free trial.
Oh, cool. All right. Thank you.
And I looked at it last year too as an option. And one thing, if I remember it correctly, categorizing them, was the video hosting, because I was pre-recording mine. And I don't think that they had the hosting capabilities for what I was trying to do. And so they kept trying to, I can't take that off, sorry. They kept trying to point towards, I think, Vimeo or YouTube, and then those both required large followings in order to have the hosting content there. So
I host my videos currently on Vimeo, so I don't know about that. I took a class from Allison Stanfield, and she reviewed, she had a number of artists talk about which platforms they used, and I don't remember what they said about where each one hosted their videos, but most of them don't host their own videos from what I remember. Helen Hebert is a paper artist, and she's done a number of classes on Rizuko, and I have friends who have taken them. And they both praised how the class was laid out, and the quality of the platform, etc. Before that, I was going to sign up with Teachable. There's only slight differences between Rizuko and Teachable, and I think one of them was how the money was handled. I think Teachable, depending on what level of membership you have, they take the money in and you have to wait for them to send you the money. At least that's the way it used to be.
So I host off of Teachable as well as Skillshare. I have 3 classes hosted on both. Teachable I've had longer, so I probably earn about, I think it's like $76 a month from Teachable. It's really not a lot, and Skillshare even less. So it's one of those things that I'm finding that a lot of my students are wanting that in-person connection some way, shape, or form. So I think there's like a benefit to doing one hosting platform, and I would probably choose Teachable over Skillshare by a long shot. And then also doing your own, online classes where you're actually having people in a session, because I think people are really longing for that, some sort of connection.
Thank you. Helen Denley's got her hand up. You want to share something?
Can you hear me?
Do you have
Just
two
a
devices on? Because it's picking up the background of the other.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Now I forgot what I was going to ask. Oh, on Teachable and Skillshare, Samantha, are those are pre-recorded classes? Is that right?
Yeah, so basically I film everything, upload it into iMovie, do all my editing and changing everything there, and then upload them. I think they have to be a minimum of 20 minutes for a class on either or, 20 minutes of recorded material. And then they charge a flat rate for Skillshare and a per course rate for Teachable.
Okay, thank you.
And I mentioned this in a previous video. I don't know why when I talk, I can't really get it to shift away, but I can't seem to do that. I'm using Uscreen and it's recordable. Thanks for whoever did that. I'm using Uscreen and it's recordable, and I get all of the fees from it. People can pay a subscription, or they can just buy the lesson right out, or they can rent the lesson for a fixed period of time. But it's all one hosting platform, so no matter what I'm recording, whether it be a demo, which I can put in pieces and then piece it together through iMovie, and then host it on there, it's worked really well. And then the subscriptions, are all coming to me, and people can just, automate, and it keeps it going. For me, the cost of it, depending on the subscription price that I charge, it takes about 6 people to pay for it. But I think right now I'm doing better than that. I've got maybe about 25 subscribers right now, just since the pandemic. And so it's paying for itself and then bringing in a little more. But I'm not doing any extra work, because I'm just taking the recordings from the Zoom classes that I'm already teaching live and just putting them up there as soon as I get done. And that's been really helpful. But as far as merging the platforms and how to host these, I don't know if it's possible with the Teachable and the Skillshare and the Rizuko. I'm curious to know too. But can you host links on your website? I know with the Uscreen I can. I have it blended into the website, so it transitions over. And I can show you real quick. I have a share screen here for it. So that whenever I pull it up to the website, let's see which one it is. Let me go to a new window. I left all these windows open to make it easier for you all to go straight to it. And see, this is just the regular website. And when I click the online, I labeled it whatever I want, but when I click it, it just goes straight to the other platform for Uscreen. And then if they just click on the classes, then, everything's loaded here from everything that we've done, over the past couple of weeks, and they can just pull what they want. And that platform is making it easier, because when I'm advertising, I can just send them straight to the website. Like, everything's navigated to my website, and then I can pull off from that, so that I'm not losing, because a lot of people are getting confused with the different platforms. They don't know where to go and how to do it. And so the pay links for all this stuff is here, so that people can actually register, and then the recordings of this are transferred to the online art lessons after the fact. So that way, to me, that consolidated a step, and it made the things available, because I'd be doing these live in-person classes, and a week after it started, I would get other people saying, I'd love to do that class, but we're already a week into a 3-week series. And I'd say, okay, we'll go online and catch up and watch this one, and then you can join in the second and third session. And of course, the online interactive is a higher price point than if you were just subscribing to the recordings. But I found it so far to be pretty helpful. I would love to, doll up the professionalism of the video recordings and maybe pre-record some without being on a Zoom Live. But for now to be able to maximize the content and have it there for them, it's been really helpful. And it blended seamlessly in with the website, so that was easy to kind of transition people over. Dar, and then Helen again.
Yeah, I had a question about the Uscreen. So if I'm understanding this, you are getting a subscription fee from your students, and then they have access to this portal that has all these different resources. Is that?
Mm-hmm.
And is it password protected so that you know who's in there? Is there unique passwords? Like how do you set that up for people who've paid, etc.? So
it's and we can do a separate content for this too, but just in a nutshell, it's $150 a month to host it. I'm only charging $30 a month for subscriptions, so that's why it takes 6 people to pay for it. When they subscribe, they create their own login information and password, and there's a sign-in button. And you can choose to have things free, like if you want to temporarily do a free sample and unlock it so that anybody that visits the site can just access it, or if you want to leave one for free to give them a little sampling, then you can do that. But you have the choice every time you upload content, whether you want to make it part of the subscription, paid for, rented, or free. And then they create their own login once they subscribe, and they can go back and visit. And because I'm loading all the classes on there, there's like 8 new classes every week that they can choose from. So if they want to try other media, they can do that as well. It's got all the analytics, so it tells you who subscribed. It tells you how many people have viewed it, which ones are the most popular, et cetera, et cetera.
Can you also upload like PDFs and things that they can print out?
Yes, there's extras, and so every lesson you can attach supply list, you can attach resources. Sometimes for the watercolor classes, I've done tracing outlines. If they don't feel confident about their drawing, I'll just say, here's this template, trace it, go on. So it's really easy to load all that content there. And then you can, if you have products that you use, you can put that in the description and then let your vendors know, here's the products that we're using. And it's to me, it was really, I mean, I did like a year's worth of work before looking to see what was right for me, and this fit my needs the best. Let's see, Helen Denley. And then Vicki. Let's see.
So I forgot, Micah, can students just buy one of your classes, or when they pay, do they get access to everything?
When they pay, they get access to everything, but they could just buy a class too. If they didn't want to do a $30 subscription, they can just buy a class for whatever price point I put it at, or they could rent it for a period of time.
So, but would that be on Uscreen then?
Yes, it's all under Uscreen.
Okay.
And then, you know, again, I could do a whole separate, I mean, we could all do it. There's several artists that are using it, and some of them have it more elegantly put together than I do. So, you know, mine was, most of the content was loaded during the pandemic as I go. So it's the best I had right now, but there's some people that really put a few months into the content and interface of it. It looks really nice and put together. It's what I aspire to be. So, but it is working. But as far as this actual session, we're talking more about like merging them and how to put them together rather than which ones would be the most useful. I want to be able to address, you know, how you might be able to link things together in that way. Vicki, you had your hand up? And you're on mute.
Myself, sorry. Excuse me. Hi, everybody. So 2 things. First of all, I don't know if any of you guys know Tracy Batista. She is, I believe, a GAEP from California, and she does a lot of online teaching and has been doing online teaching. And right after the big Golden meeting, she ran a course on creating your own online courses, e-courses. So anyway, so she recommended both Rizuko and Teachable at the time. So that's almost like, I don't know, I must have taken that class 4 years ago and then didn't do anything with it because I teach at 3 different local art centers. So I'm already on the road all week long here and there and just didn't think that was working. But my question is, so now the one of my art centers, which is most of my income, I'm also split like Samantha between partial galleries that carry my work, and then income from the paintings themselves. And then the rest of it from teaching. So the teaching, you know, just went kaput. And then the galleries are all closed with the work locked up inside, which you hope they don't fold in all this. You know, that's a little bit worrisome. So my question, getting down to what the question was about hosting on Zoom. So can't we just host our recordings on Zoom? Mika, you talked about that in those sessions that you had sent me the link for. Could you explain why? Because the school is planning to do that, and I was telling the administrator that you recommend a different method for uploading the recordings.
So for that particular question, I can load them like on my, I'm trying to change your view, sorry. Francis, can you switch it back over?
Yeah, I'm on it.
When I talk, it doesn't switch over.
I'll mute myself.
So the Zoom for the Pro account has 1 gig of storage. And for me, that's equated to about 4 classes that are 2 hours long. So I can host about 8 hours worth of content on my Pro account for Zoom before I run out of storage space. And then I've got to either delete it or put it somewhere, or I run out of space. I don't have anything else to do. So I needed somewhere to quote unquote dump it, but I didn't want to put it on YouTube because it's a paid class. So, you know, I didn't know how to do that. And then Helen from Sweden told me about the unlisting of YouTube. So I did a couple of things that way to at least store, like the last Golden Talk we did, I stored it there so that I'd have a link where I could share it with people, but I didn't want it to be accessible to people publicly. So that's why I chose what I chose. But again, that's kind of, it's going down like a different subject of which platforms are best for the online teaching, more so than the merging of the platforms. The Zoom is a little bit harder. I mean, they're great questions for sure, but I'm worried about being able to move through the rest of the stuff here on at least putting the platforms together. So it sounds like maybe we should have a whole nother session just on which platforms are best for which people, and we could explore, you know, Rizuku, Teachable. I never even knew until Dar just mentioned it. Sam mentioned Skillshare, Shopify. I mean, those are things that we could hold space with and dive in a little bit more.
Okay, can I jump in on Zoom here a little bit? Zoom seems to be best as a way to bring people together and host live content. If you're going to be doing this a lot, you may want to consider having like a Uscreen or a Teachable account where you can have more than a handful of options available at any given time and use the Zoom to produce new content consistently. It's not going to be appropriate for housing a lot of content for very long. Does that help? Okay.
And so I wanted to screen share one more time to show you 2 things, and then I want to turn it over. The Facebook, when you were trying to share settings on Facebook, can y'all see this screen okay? Is it showing up for a computer, Facebook? Okay, good. So when you go to Facebook and you move this window, you can come to your settings tab, and there are 2 main keys in the bottom over here. There is this business integrations, and there's this app and websites. So for business integrations, you can put things on there. So I have like Hootsuite, Faso, and Fine Art America all integrated on here so that I can link everything together for what I want to do. And I'm going to tell you the biggest success for me that I just figured out. I was like so grateful for it. But like I had put all my May classes up and I was getting, you know, not that many registrations at all. And I was like, man, it would really be helpful if I could just share my website, which is through Faso, newsletter on Facebook, because it had all the hyperlinks and stuff. And I knew Facebook was the biggest attention getter. And then sure enough, I found out that you could share the newsletter. And I had a bunch of registrations in one day just from sharing the newsletter. And it was easy for people to share it, but all the hyperlinks were there. It was everything together in one space. You could even hyperlink videos there, like on how to register or what demos are associated with it. So that was helpful. But that's under business integrations in your settings. There's also this apps and websites, which, you know, I have Magisto, which Helen Denley told me about. It's like a little video preview if you're doing some exciting little sampling for something coming up, and then Zoom.us, so that I can link some of the content as far as sharing the links on there. But you can add that under apps and websites as well to give it a little bit more of a presence.
Hey, Michael, we have a couple of questions. Can we take Tom and Jacqueline's questions or comments really quickly?
Sure.
Go ahead, Tom. I'm going to unmute Tom. Unmute.
Okay, I'm unmuted now.
Yes.
So in merging platforms, will we talk about things like promoting through MailChimp and that kind of stuff? My email list is on MailChimp, and I was wondering if people embed links into their emails that they send to the email list so people could register that way, or that kind of a cross-platform merging thing.
I do.
Yep, I don't have experience with the MailChimp, but I know FASO has the integration on here so that it's available through the newsletter and the email system. So when I go to the homepage, there's a MailChimp link here that I can integrate through Facebook or MailChimp, and there's additional integrations here. I can also look at the newsletter that I sent out recently, and I put hyperlinks in there. Let's see if I can find it, so that if they just click on it, then all they had to do was pull it up. And then this tells me who bounced back. I can view the newsletter. And then here it is. I put the pictures. There's the link for the actual site if they want to see all the classes. But then they could just click this hyperlink, and it should take them straight to the website, and then they can pay right here for it. So I integrated that button on there. And that's what I mean about merging the platforms, is that because I'm using Facebook, they can take the FASO newsletter and just click a link, and it takes them straight to paying. And that, I saw like a really high rise in registrations just by using that one tool, because I knew Facebook was the visibility, but when I was sharing the events one at a time, people just weren't getting it. They weren't, clicking onto that, or maybe they weren't seeing it. I don't really know what the answer was, but the newsletter was shareable, and it just showed up just like this. And it had several things on there. It even tells them about the recordings. You don't want to do it online. Here you go. And then that takes them straight to that platform, and their hyperlinks that are on there. And they never know that these are different platforms, but they're all integrated together on my website. So it looks like one system, but really it's 3 or 4 different servers. So that's kind of what I'm mentioning when I'm talking about the integrating platforms.
But you could actually have, for example, a PayPal button put into your MailChimp email that they could actually register and buy the course directly without having to go from MailChimp to the website to the link to the PayPal, right?
Yes.
Well, yes, but this takes them, I mean, look, it's there it is, and then there's the pay link. So you could put pay link, like, so you're talking about, so it takes them straight to.
Oh, right, rather than having the PayPal button right in your email, you just link it to the website, and the PayPal button is there.
Sure.
Okay.
Mine through MailChimp, and I link it to Square. And on Square, you can set up a store. Square is now owned by Weebly, so you can set up a very nice looking store, and they can register. So then I use the Square payment as my registration system.
So the Square store is a separate store as opposed to like a Shopify store or whatever else you might have?
No, it's hosted on your website.
The Square store is on your website?
It's not a separate page.
It is a separate page. You can put it on your website, or it can be a separate page, Square. So mine is a separate page because my website is being redone and it's not very functional. So I've been selling everything through Square, even my local classes that I do. I put them in the store on Square, and then I link to that.
So your Square store is actually something you set up and then you link to that?
Correct.
Okay.
And then it gives you all the stats and sends you a report every day as to what was sold.
Because I use Square as a payment, like.
Yeah, they take the payment.
Credit card thing, but I haven't set up a store per se. I just have all my items listed like on my phone app.
Right. You can, I think you can set up a store on PayPal as well. Square was doing it first. And the fees are about the same on PayPal or Square, but the Square store, the new one, since it's been bought out by Weebly, is really nice. And then it also will merge right into your website, most of the website platforms as well.
Okay.
I pulled up my website. My Square store or shop is hosted on my website. Here, I can do a screen share really quickly and show you. Let's see. Everybody see my screen? So on my website, I have class registration. I have, graphic, description, a price. I have tracking with a SKU number, quantity. And if you click add to cart, you pay here through Square. So it does all the class registrations live on my website. I need to update them, but you can click through the different options. And when I post links on my newsletter, I link to the individual class registration pages. So they're brought right into this function where they just add to cart and pay. And they input their credit card information right here. And I get an email. So I'll stop the share now. Get back.
That looks good.
So there's lots of different ways to do it, Tom. You just are probably going to have to figure out what's working best for yourself and your students. And, depending on their level of comfort and tech savvy. Some people don't like to put their credit card number in online, but they're going to have to get more comfortable with it.
Yeah.
What platform is your website on, Francis?
My website is hosted through Wix, which has some very simple template designs and is a very user-friendly website. It's very intuitive and easy to use. And it's also pretty cost-effective. But it also has the options for lots of plugins for things like Square or PayPal, whatever your preferred processing payment is, Shopify, etc. So it's all, but it can all be hosted there, and you can track your payments. I sell artwork. I do shows. There are other links to other things that I have available hosted within my site as well. Now, if you go to my site right now, it is currently under construction. I'm uploading some new work and some new classes, but that's another thing that people should probably factor in is your website may need a refresh. Every couple of years, it's a good idea to go back in, clean up things, update your listings, make sure your work is current, because it's very confusing if your students arrive there and your class lists are from 2002. It doesn't look like you're actively teaching. And just to keep your website looking fresh and engaging too, you should give it kind of an overhaul every couple of years. It'll help drive traffic as well, just to keep it interesting.
Thank you. And I think you can probably all see the dilemma of, every topic opens up more topics. Like it's like there's tons of rabbit holes that, and it's so applicable to what everybody's trying and using. And I love learning about it because then I can see it's something better or different. So it can get real overwhelming. I just wanted to show you one more thing, and then I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to screen share one more time. I wanted to show you, as far as the integration goes, there's one other thing that I integrated just for the simplicity of merchandise and some original artwork. And I just put it on here today. I was not using it before, but under merchandise, I put a link for Fine Art America, because people can click your image and turn it into everything from a throw pillow to a phone cover. And you can have prints done this way if you don't want to buy prints and you just want them to do it as they go. I'm sure there's several other hosting contents, but there's a lot of merchandise here with analytics, and they don't make it until the person orders it, and then you just get a bounce back off of it. So it was a real easy way to upload images of artwork as I complete them, and then have possibilities of having it viewed. But again, in the spirit of integrating the platform, it's just linked right on the website under merchandise. And then if I want to just put the original artwork here just for sale, I can, but it's also mentioned here. There's an option to just buy the original artwork. And that saved me a step, especially back in the day when I was trying to get all these prints made and acetate sleeves and So it's just one other integration option. I'm sure it's available through any websiting host, but again, this is FASO, so it makes it a little bit easier. And then the whole concept of Hootsuite, if you are not familiar with it, let's wake them up. So Hootsuite offers a 30-day free trial, and this is probably good if you do a lot of social media, which I'm hoping that Samantha and Mana can really elaborate on because they're really gurus at it. I'm not sure that this is going to be the best platform for me, but I logged on to problem solve with some stuff because it integrates a lot more social media than what I'm using as far as Twitter, LinkedIn. It can integrate YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, etc. And it's a big scheduler so that when you're putting a post up, you can schedule the post to come out, so it'll help build the algorithms and it'll help keep content coming out on a regular basis. But you could sit down and do your posting at one time and it will cover all the platforms. So you don't have to, log on to Insta, you don't have to log on to the other things and do everything individually. You can just share it across and it'll automate it. It tracks the analytics. There's a lot of good stuff about it and how to do it. There is a brief 11-minute tutorial that does a much better job explaining it. It's just called How to Use Hootsuite in 11 Minutes. And she walks you through what I'm not going to do right now, which is show you the whole process. And she does it step by step and it's through her screen. So instead of taking up the time to show you this whole intro to Hootsuite, you can just go to this link on YouTube, How to Use Hootsuite in 11 Minutes, and it'll give you everything that you need. And then as far as the imagery goes, there was a, on the Instagram, you can actually share the post onto Facebook if you integrate it. So I did 2 posts right before we started here, and I did one on Instagram and shared it through Facebook. And then I did another just sharing it directly on Facebook to see what the difference in the responses would be, because sometimes when things are shared on Facebook, they don't get as high of interaction as they do when you post them on there directly. So I was trying to see the difference between the two. But going through the Facebook post, there's actually a way when you're posting on Instagram to transfer it directly to your Facebook page so that you're consolidating steps that way. So if you didn't want to post the same image of a completed work on all platforms, you could share it onto the Instagram platform and then it'll automatically dump it onto Facebook too. And that saves you a step of having to go back and forth. But it also directs your Instagram or Facebook people to your Instagram. So you're constantly showing your Instagram presence every time you post on Facebook as well.
And guys, there are lots of different options for social media management and scheduling, which is basically what we're talking about with the Hootsuite. I myself am using, are you going to spotlight me? I myself am using Buffer. I found that it had a better user interface and it doesn't post to as many platforms, but it posts to the ones that I need. And it was a slightly lower cost as well. But there are several different options. If you're looking for a social media management tool and a scheduler, the reason I use it is to give myself more painting time and working time. Because if I can sit down and do all of my social media posts for the week or even the month all at once, then that's less time that I'm getting sucked into a Facebook hole during the week when I should be painting, right? So I try to set these up so that they're posting regularly. And why do you need to post this often? That's a thing we haven't really talked about. From a social media perspective, if you want to get more students, if you want more reach, and if you want people to see your posts, you need to post often and consistently. And these kinds of platforms will help you do that, and so that you get more on track, because Facebook and Instagram only show viewers your content if you're posting a lot. The more, it's almost like a reward. The more you post, the more they will share your content. So it does help you get more students, more views, but you want to make sure you're getting quality views, not just quantity. You want people who want to interact with you, people who want to take classes. Please don't ever pay for followers. They won't be quality for you, but there will always be someone trying to sell you those types of things. I get one of those requests every week, like, oh, hey, for only a few dollars, we'll guarantee you 1,000 new followers. I don't need followers that don't want anything to do with me. I want followers that want to take a class. So you might want to look at, even if you are not at a level where you want this kind of platform, it is a paid subscription, you should start building in time where you're regularly posting content so that you get your viewers up and you get an audience to interact with, and it will grow. So I hope that's helpful information.
Yep, and some comments that came up that I want to make sure people address. Darb made a good point that on Facebook and Instagram pairing, it's business to business or personal to personal. And I actually found that in Hootsuite, that when I tried to link my Instagram account because it's personal, it said I had to change it to business in order to use Hootsuite. And I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for all that. Also, Julia asked how many times a day to post on Facebook. She was taught 3 max, and Samantha said once a day on Facebook is lots. And then Dar gave some more analytics showing more viewing on personal versus business, which is why I left mine on personal as well. I agree.
And can I bring up a point about personal versus business pages on Facebook? You guys need to be aware that within the Facebook terms and conditions, if you're sharing salesy posts or doing business on Facebook, they require that you have both a business and a personal account. Otherwise, they retain the right to completely, they may disable your account because it would be in violation of their terms. So if you are going to post, you should have a studio page or something. It is recommended that you post to your business page and share to your personal page. And then that way you're still within the terms. Just as a little warning. So if you don't have both, I strongly recommend that you get both, a personal and a professional Facebook account. Same goes with the Instagram. If you're going to have better functionality and be more within their terms if you have a business account.
And Sandy's asking about do any of the platforms post to groups, Facebook groups you're a part of. So I have my stuff shared to my personal page, like Instagram shares automatically to my personal page, and then I share that onto my art page, and I have a closed private group for all the students that I teach, and I'll share stuff that way too. So I kind of use my personal page as the funnel, and yes, it's another step, but I can just share into those platforms pretty easily. And then Samantha said she posts 1 to 3 times a day at specific times. And then I'm going to take a question from Julia, and then I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Samantha so she can elaborate on her experience as well. But Julia, we'll take your question real quick first.
Hello. Yeah, I just wanted to come in with the Facebook terminology because I've been a bit confused for about the last 15 minutes. Now, I was always taught that you have a personal profile, which is a private thing, which is where you have people who request friendship and you have the option of declining their friendship. So basically you have a lot of power over that space. I have that. I have a Facebook page, which is called Julia Renault Artist and Teacher. Now on that, I have got several hundred followers. A lot of them I don't know. They can follow me at any time they want to. I have no control over that, other than if they misbehave, I can ban them. And I don't want to be critical, but I think we're using the word page interchangeably. And unless I have missed something with Facebook, maybe I haven't kept up with Facebook, maybe it's changed. I think Facebook call it a page if it's a thing where you have people who are likes, and they call it a profile if it's a thing where you have people who become friends. And so unless something has changed and I'm not up with that, I think we need to check that out because it's being used interchangeably in this conversation.
It is interchangeable. I mean, they consider anything where you're posting either a business profile or a personal profile, but the difference comes in the functionality of it And one is intended to be more social and one is intended for business, which will give you more analytics and more control over how you interact with that audience. But you do have similar security measures and things that you can put in place. You can unfriend someone, you can have them unfollow you, you can ban people. So you do still have that function. I think, you know, we shouldn't get hung up on the semantics here. I think you seem to understand that one is different than the other. And I think
it's okay, Francis. I just think that what was being said was a tad confusing because it's not the Facebook terminology unless it has changed. I'm trying to be polite here, but I think calling it, I do find this on Facebook a lot, that people refer to things that are pages that are not pages. They'll even refer to groups as pages, and they're different things. And as we're in an educational context here, you know, and people are trying to learn and maybe they don't yet use Facebook, I think it's really important that we define what the different things are.
Thank you for helping me with that. You're right. Profile is what I use most of the time. So if I misclarified that, profile is where I send
I think Facebook does call them pages. If you go to your business page, under the title of your business page, Facebook calls it a page.
Well, let's move on to hear what Samantha has to say about merging platforms and her experience with Linktree. I learned a lot from her on that and some other things. So I'm going to switch over to her.
Sure. Perfect. Okay. Well, I will, I'm going to share my screen just to get you guys started. So I'm going to share my Instagram page for starters. Can everyone see that okay?
Yes.
Perfect. So I have a lot of experience with learning about Instagram and Instagram's benefits and its quirks, and it's been really essential to me to find a way to connect with my audience. And I do find that about half to 75% of my sales come from both Instagram and Facebook. And that being said, that's because it's just so easily connected. So a few things that I learned, and we sort of talked briefly about this, but Linktree. So you'll see right on my platform here, my website link is actually through Linktree. So instead of having just one general website, a lot of us have a lot of platforms. A lot of us aren't going to connect them all. There's really no way to connect them all perfectly. They're not all streamlined. So for myself, Linktree has become a really easy way for me to connect people to different aspects of my site. So this is a very basic Linktree setup. Basically, they click this link, then they are directed to, this is my lunar collection, my online shop, my workshop, this is another workshop, and then they can also sign up for my mailing list. So I have multiple links right here from my one available link on Instagram. So I'm only allowed to post one link. By using Linktree, I'm able to add in new links, add in new places to direct people to. And this is such a time saver, because if you post a workshop one day on Instagram and a painting the next day, but you don't have to keep on switching that profile website link, just use Linktree. So that's been super easy for me just to sort of set this up, and you can change these all the time. You can edit them, you can take them out, add more. Totally depends on what you're looking to connect people to. So that's been like a number one thing for me, has been really to change this out so that you have access to different aspects. I do connect my Instagram to Facebook as well. So whenever I post on Instagram, I do post instantly to Facebook. I have a very different audience on Facebook than I do on Instagram. There is some crossover, but I do have a different audience, and I'm very aware of that. So for me, it's not too much of a problem to connect the two. I don't know if I can actually see if there's any questions, but stop me if there's questions.
Dar was asking if Linktree is only applicable to an Instagram business account, or can it be used on a personal account too?
It can use used on a personal as well, because it's just that link that you're adding in. So when you go to edit your profile and they offer you that website link, I think your personal one would allow this as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if you're offered a website link, that's where I'm putting it in.
And Sam, are you using a business profile on Instagram?
Yes, this is a business profile.
Okay. And Josie is asking if there is a cost with Linktree.
No, it's all free.
And I'm using personal, and I still use Linktree as well. So it seems to be the same as what she's saying, even on personal account as well.
And again, it's just a way, because we're not able to streamline. So if I went to my website and I was looking for just workshops, I'd have to click through a lot. And not that, you know, people aren't able to do that, but I think you have about a 15-second, you know, chance to connect people with the right website before they give up. So that really short chance is just kind of make it easy for them. Click on this link, then you choose what you'd like to actually look up. And then the only other thing I wanted to share briefly, I talked briefly about Shopify. And I like sharing this because I've been sharing it a lot with some friends of mine. And I don't know if it'll let me do it on here. It might not. But on a cell phone, what the really neat thing about Shopify is on your mobile, when I hover over a page that happens to have a product that is available on my Shopify site, I am actually able to connect that product directly on Instagram. So this is the only connector that Shopify does. But basically what happens is any products that I have listed on Shopify, I can link that whole account to my Instagram account. And then when I post with something like one of these moons, I can link that directly to a product page. And what you can actually do is click through it. So that's the only time you're actually able to click through on Instagram to an actual product page. So that's another option.
And those are two both really valuable things that I learned from you. I noticed the Shopify thing the other day, but I didn't know it was a totally different thing. I thought it was like a feature through Instagram. So I was going to ask you if it was a business tab. Like I noticed that you could hit the price points on it, and I thought that was really convenient and wise as an onlooker. And then also the Linktree, that was the first acknowledgement that I ever knew that you could put links in the bio. So when you demonstrated that and I was like, man, that's awesome that she can put the link right up there, because it was her Facebook or Instagram posts were drawing me in to find out more about the workshops. And then I realized that she was putting everything conveniently up in the bio. I didn't even know that you could do that or had to do that on Instagram.
And it's just, you know, you try to make it simpler. Like I have a website and I have a Shopify page. So I already have a lot of pages that you have to sort through, websites that you have to sort through. And then when you're also going through my website, you have to look for the workshops, you have to look for the products, you have to look for the shop. So just trying to make it easy. Again, you know, think about it simply. How can I connect as many things as possible to my sites is kind of the best thing you can do. And I mean, I make this easy, even with this connects directly to my MailChimp sign up right here. So if you do have MailChimp, this is a direct sign up to my MailChimp list as well, which is awesome. You can have a direct sign up there as well.
Francis, were there other questions?
I don't see any other questions right now. I answered a couple in the chat. Does anybody have a question that we've missed, or have a question for Sam? Okay.
Cool.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
I
Sam.
have a question. Sorry, Sam.
Yeah.
How many links can we put up in Linktree?
Oh my gosh, I think you can do as many as you'd like. I think it starts looking a little cluttered after a while, but they do have, I think I've done up to 10. And you can change the background around as well. So you can make the background look fancier. You can add an image to it. You can, they have like Halloween themes, all sorts of stuff.
Okay, great, thanks.
I would like to share a program I use as well that's called Flume, F-L-U-M-E. And it's an app that allows you to use Instagram on your desktop computer. Usually Instagram posts you can only do from a cell phone. This gives me the ability to add video or photos from my computer. They do have a free version, but I bought it. And it was a low cost, but it's a real time saver for me to be able to post directly from my Facebook and to my Instagram from one computer where all my files are. Instead of trying to go back and forth between my phone and other devices.
Thank you for that. Minna, did you have some shared experience you wanted to talk about?
I would, the main platforms that I'm using are Instagram and Facebook. And all the other things that you've talked about are new to me. Everything is actually new to me. I just started giving workshops and I haven't fully transferred into the virtual yet, because we were just like, you know, sitting with the students and giving them demos, and ours was very like an experience. So it's very difficult for my business partner and I to have online classes at the moment. But for us, Instagram has worked wonders. So has Facebook, and those two are the main platforms for us. I mean, I wouldn't call myself a guru. I learn something new every day about Instagram and Facebook. But it really, some apps have really helped me monitor when there is more interaction and what time should I post an ad. And this app called Canva has really helped me. Like, I started using it a couple of years ago, and that has really got me, that allowed me to make my workshop posters and flyers more attractive to people. But mainly it's Facebook and Instagram. I'm still learning, and I feel like eventually I will hire I will hire a professional, because social media is a full-time job. Because when I was having workshops, I was making stories all the time. I was literally working so hard on my stories that we had to divide our job. Like one would be like taking care of the students, the other would be making videos and taking pictures. And Instagram Live has also really helped us connect with the audience, because this whole painting workshop is very, very new. Like Pakistan, nobody does that. And then it was new for us now. And now because of the COVID situation, everything is shut down. It's very hard to convince people that we're legit, because there are so many fake profiles like that. But yeah, I would say you guys know more than I do.
Well, I hope
It's trial and error.
yeah, I'm hoping that there was some information, that could help everybody in this. I personally, I put a little tab for it, but didn't get a lot of votes. But I think I could benefit from a whole Instagram tech talk, because I haven't been necessarily willing or sure if it was the best placement for my time and energy, but I know it's working really well for other people. I'm just not sure where I'm personally missing the mark on it. But especially now with all these recordings and Zoom lessons, I feel like I'm just on a computer nonstop, and I'm trying to kind of separate from that a little bit more, which is why the emerging platforms, was really a good target for me. We have a question from Chris. Let's see. Chris, you had your hand up?
I had to unmute myself. Yes, I have a question. I'm learning all this stuff like everybody else, but on what I found as a shortcut is if I'm loading up my videos onto YouTube, I can link that to my website, and they can buy the video from there. But if the video is longer than 20 minutes, I have to compress it. And I've been using Video Downloader, but I was wondering if there's a different way to do it, because Video Downloader, they keep wanting to plug in these extensions on your computer, and it's a royal pain. So, and that helps me compress the video so that I can actually upload it to my website, and I have Squarespace. So does anybody have a different one that they use?
Can I just come in there? Yeah, I also have Squarespace. That's my website.
I'm trying to switch over to you, Julia. Hold on. There you go.
Hello. Yeah, really interesting what you were just saying just there. Sorry, I didn't catch your name. Chris. Yeah, I have a Squarespace website. Now, it was put together for me. Well, it's not the first website I've had. It's a reworking of it. It was put together at the very beginning of this year by the daughter of a student of mine. Obviously, I paid her, but she does work professionally with websites, and she did mine. Of course, it was all before COVID. So everything on there, you know, as we were just saying, was for a different scenario with face-to-face classes. There's nothing on there to say that I'm doing anything different. You see, all I've done is I've not put any new classes on, because I don't want anyone to think I'm teaching face-to-face. So all the classes, if you were to look at them, see they terminate just before Easter. With the people who'd already signed up for the summer term, I have done Zoom classes. It's quite complicated to do, and that's really probably a subject for another day, as we were saying. I also haven't really put anything on Facebook about what I'm doing either. I've let it go dormant, again, because I didn't want people to think that I was breaking the law. So it's really difficult at the moment. But certainly the information today about trying to manage the Facebook and the Instagram account together has been very useful, because I didn't really know how to do that. I've been treating them really as two separate entities. What the person who set my website up was really good at doing, but I never really got taught how to do it myself, was how to do things like newsletters and things, and then you could put them out onto other platforms. But I've not been able to get in touch with her, so I'm really stuck. So I know some of you are talking about employing professionals to do things, but I think at the end of the day, if we can learn how to do it ourselves, it means that if, say, on a weekend, suddenly there's an urgent need to make a change, it means we can do it. And this COVID thing has really brought this to the fore, you know, that we really do need to be ourselves able to urgently make changes. So I think the suggestion that I've heard in the comments from some people about us perhaps having a list of who uses what at the moment would be really, really useful. Because if we can see that someone uses two things together and we also want to use those two things together, that would be really useful to be able to go and approach that person.
All right, Helen has offered, Helen and I have been speaking about putting that together. Helen has offered if everyone would like.
I see that.
Okay.
Anyway, that was my bit, that I also use Squarespace. So it would be useful perhaps to have a list of who uses Squarespace too. Thank you very much.
Julia, I'm going to just read her offer to everyone so that they don't miss it. Helen has offered if everyone will put together a list of the apps, programs, and websites that you're using, along with your name and contact info, if you'll send it to her email address, which we can share at the end of the call, is helen.danley@gmail.com. She's going to put everything together for us. But be patient with her, everyone. It's a lot of information that we've covered, and I know we're all scrambling to get our act together. So, but we'll get that out. That's a good idea, everybody. Let me see.
And then there's several people talking about being willing to host a tech talk just on doing live Zoom classes, if that helps. So.
And remember, there are already several videos that several people like Micah have shared on the Golden page. If you are on the Golden Facebook page, our private group, and off to the left, there's usually a search function. If you type in Zoom, you'll see some different things where we've all shared information about hosting classes, the equipment we're using, things of that nature. That'll be a good start for those of you really focused on the live Zoom classes right now. You might want to start there. It might answer a lot of your existing questions.
Yeah, and I'll also share a link to this session. It's an unlisted YouTube link, which means that it is not public. It can only be found by the link, and I'll put it just in the Golden site. So again, I'm just saying this for the nature of the recording in case people came on later, but it's just a privately shared informal thing because it has so much of our information and stuff on it, and people probably were not in a presenter capacity. So it's just something to be shared among us. And I'll put that link on the Golden page so that if you need to go back and reference some of these things that are mentioned also and how to access them, you can play the recording as many times as you need to. I also wanted to remind you that next week we'll try and put it out there with Facebook Live as a topic. Then we have the mini cam or the dual camera view talk. And then we'll have how to set up your own Amazon page with a bounce back, meaning that if you have supplies that you want students to buy, you can set up your own Amazon page that links them straight to the supplies, but you get a percentage of the sales from those. So Sally McDonald was going to show us how to do that. But there's several people that are going to be presenting on that. And please don't feel overwhelmed just because they're coming out once a week. We just thought it was better to do it more regularly, and you can always download the recordings and save them for another time rather than wait a couple of months when people probably most now likely need the information. So that's why we thought that would be helpful for you all. I do have, Vicki had offered to share something earlier, your comment. I forgot the name of it, Vicki, but you said you had some shared experience with that. It was called Portfolio or Folio or something.
Yeah. Oh, you were just mentioning different types of websites. And I know a lot of people use Wix or Squarespace, but I've been on something called Folio Link for 8 or 9 years. I don't know, my first website my kid did for me. And then he didn't want to upgrade, you know, make my changes. So now I've been doing this myself, and it is a flat fee, a flat yearly fee for it, but it has almost all the same ability of other things for people who don't have the time or don't have all the knowledge of how to build your own website. It's basically canned artist photographer websites, and you can make enough, it's so easy to use it, you can make enough changes to it that it looks completely different. I have a good friend who originally showed it to me. Her website and my website look so different, even though of, let's say, the 10 templates that they have, we're both using the same one. You'd never know it, you know, by the choices that we make. So it's called Folio Link. If you need to upgrade your website, you can give that a shot and see whether it works for you. It's been working for me for a long time.
Very cool. And I know that FASO has a really good customer response system. You can chat, and like usually within 5 to 10 minutes, there's a tech come on to answer the problem. So even when I'm working later in the evening and trying to come up with some changes, I mean, they're pretty rapid response. And so far, it's been able to meet all the needs and host everything that I need to move through. So I found it very helpful over the time, but I'm sure the last thing we need is a website overhaul for most people. But, you know, I found that to be very helpful. So I want to be mindful of everybody's time too. And we've been on for a while now. So I certainly want to thank people for dedicating their time and experience to this. I know we're all busy with our own ongoings. And so it's very considerate and generous of people to be able to share their experience and take time. And I feel like it's a really rich experience when everybody's contributing something, because we're all learning what's right for us. And that's the biggest question, is we're all doing different things, and we can take parts of it and leave the rest behind.
And before we sign off, Micah, just a reminder, I'm getting a couple of questions. If you'll open the chat window, folks, there is Helen's contact information. It is helen.danley@gmail.com. We can post her email under the video when we share it to the Facebook page. And she's just asking that you send her a link of any apps, programs, platforms you're using that might be helpful, with your name, email, and phone number to her, and she'll compile it for everyone to share. Helen, does that cover everything? Do you need to jump in with anything else there?
Well,
sorry, I'm so hoarse. There's
and the function of the apps and programs. Just
the function of the app and program.
Yeah.
Okay.
How will you compose those? Will you be composing those within an Excel sheet or something? Because maybe then you would like to have them as an Excel sheet just to speed things up for you.
Yes.
Would you like to make a template that we fill in?
That's a good suggestion.
Because it's always easier to just, you know, combine them if you have a template first, just to make it easier for you.
It's a great idea.
And Julia's asking if it's the same time next week, and no, it's not. And this is very important. I forgot to mention this. So I had already scheduled this time, and I used a time zone converter based on everybody's time zones that was willing to participate, and that mutually just put this time up. But I felt really awful that Amy Shawley Paquette was doing her Facebook Live on Golden at the exact same time. So please go back and watch that recording. She did acrylic skins, and it was something I was really interested in. I felt really bad that I'd already said, hey, this time. I don't want to take away from that. And I don't want to do it on a regular basis because I also didn't know that Golden's been doing that regularly at 1 p.m. on Wednesday. So I'm going to pick a different time so we don't compete with that constantly. But please go back and watch that, and know that she's also going to do another demo on Friday, you know, that you can still participate and support her in that way as well. But yeah, I wanted you to know that wasn't intentional that I did that. So I felt like I hope that you'll be able to go back and give her equal attention on it.
Can we talk a little bit about supporting each other too? Besides that, we've all shared all this information. I'm seeing lots of thank yous and things like that. It's great. I love that we're continuing to support and share. Another way we can also help get our interaction and our viewership up on Facebook and Instagram. If you see another instructor is posting things, like it, comment on it, show some support, because that helps them get more eyeballs on theirs and they'll return the favor. So that's just another easy way. If you're scrolling through your feed and you see Sam's posted a class and so is Micah, like them, say that sounds cool or something. It will help your fellow artists, and we'll return the favor. Just a suggestion.
And please post your successes too. When you're doing these little baby steps, go on there and be like, I did it, everybody, yeah. Because we need to know, we need to see that people are out there in the trenches and that they're putting it to the test and they're seeing some results. So please share your successes with us on that page too. So, all right,
So,
well,
yeah, we're getting some more comments about people encouraging each other to like, share. It helps the algorithm. There's several artist groups that, like Helen's inviting everyone to Artist Voice and Vision. Another Golden artist shared, Jacqueline saying another Golden artist shared her Zoom class and she got 6 new students. And that's not taking 6 students away from that other artist. That means that you're both getting that, you know, you're sharing the audience. So we can only help each other. So collaboration, I think we're all stronger together. So this is great. What do you think, Micah?
Sick hearing me talk. They're like, I want something fresh.
Right?
Stuff. It's good.
Well, and we all teach in such different styles and different techniques. You know, one person taking both of our classes is a win for all 3 of us.
Right.
So let's keep that up. Good comments, guys. Yeah, I know, Vicki. Sometimes the algorithm's screwy. Well, it just means we need to interact with each other more, and we'll see each other's posts. So we'll make a point of that. Excellent. So, but thank you all for sharing and your generosity. Are there any other questions? I don't know if, I think Micah, it sounded like you were kind of winding down. Does anybody have anything else pressing? We've got some other things scheduled. I've been very grateful for all the sharing and the generosity of information, and I hope we all continue. Micah?
I'm good. I got some internet stuff I got to go do.
Bye, guys.
I have another call to get ready for, but thank you.
Thanks, Samantha. Thanks, Manoj.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank
And Helen,
you.
I think is going to put together the information for us. So we'll make sure that we send all of her the information send her all the information she's asked for so she can share it with us. But this has been great.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you, everybody. Bye. Nice